there, and welcome. Today I'd like to talk about cheating that I think is the most commonplace. At least it was when I was in the business, and I think most likely it still is. I think this kind of cheating is most commonplace because it's the lowest stakes, and that is cheating on homework. Well, how does one deal with that? Well, the first thing you need to do, I think especially, is to not incentivize cheating on homework. And what I mean by that is don't assign things that you're absolutely not going to look at. Don't have students give you something that you're not going to look at. Now, I'm going to confess a really ugly truth that lots of teachers would say to me, don't talk about that now. That's dirty laundry that we all have to deal with. Sometimes teachers overextend their assignments. They do too many assignments, and they end up not really looking at all of them and then kind of throw away some. Even I, as fussy and nosy as I am, at different times in my career made the mistake of putting out too many assignments, and so when they came in, I just automatically, if a kid did it, they got 100 and didn't really look at it. That can be a great difficulty to have that happen and resist the urge to do that, because it incentivizes cheating. If you don't care about it, then why should they? So if you can avoid it, try not to incentivize cheating. The second thing you can do is try to focus on assignments to give them that will be of value to them, and thereby are not the kind of assignments they would be tempted to cheat on. And in English, that was writing about things that they cared about, or writing their responses to things that mattered. In other classes, I think it would be much the same way. I think you could get some really good writing from students if you ask them about things that really interested them. And I include things like the sciences in that way. One of the things one of my science teacher friends once told me was, whenever I introduce a new animal to the kids in biology, I have to know two things: how it poops and how it mates. Okay, that's interesting. Sometimes those things that you might be tempted to present in lecture or in presentation, possibly a homework assignment might be them finding that out and then offering to present it in the class, either in an informal way from their desks in discussion, or in a formal way by getting up in front of the class and presenting the information. You might say, well, they could cheat on that. In the words of my father, there is no system designed by one man that another man can't break or cheat on. And I think that's pretty much true. I think enough people are ready to put effort into cheating that no matter what you do, there are going to be some people who cheat. And they do it just because there's this perverse inclination to do that. And I don't really understand it in all cases, because sometimes the effort of the cheat is harder than actually doing the work. But it happens. So, have them involved in the assignment and present something individualistic. That's one way to make the homework more meaningful, and that way when you check it, it's more meaningful to you. Another way to do it is study sheets. I used to do study sheets for tests where the students got credit on the test if they turned in a completed study sheet with the test. But the only rule was they had to have the study sheet in their handwriting. So you might say, yeah, but they could cheat on that. One kid could actually do the studying and write down the stuff, and then the other kids could copy. Ah, yes. But see, that's not really cheating in the way I've designed the assignment. All they have to do is have that in their own handwriting. And so if they copied it down in their own handwriting, at least they did something, and at least that gets credit. You'd be surprised how many young people won't even avail themselves of that level of cheating. But what happens then in that case, though, is the student who actually did the studying does better on the test, and the student who didn't may get a small pop on the test, but at least they did something. And that's pretty important. Doing something is better than not doing anything. And that's what you're fighting a lot of times with homework, is inertia or distraction or perversion. Never mind. Okay, third possible way to deal with cheating or deal with the temptation of cheating on an assignment, a homework assignment, is to feature certain problems on the homework where you require them to do them in front of you. Now let me explain what I mean by this. There are a lot of math classes, I understand, where every teacher who does that particular class is required to assign the same set of problems to the class. And some teachers check these very carefully and some teachers don't. And the teachers who don't check them carefully encourage a lot of cheating because they don't check. And those who do check them carefully find cheating, and so their kids suffer consequences from that. So my inclination when a kid cheated on a homework assignment was to either zero the assignment or was to require them to redo the assignment. Now that's homeworks. I'll get into tests and projects later. But one of the things that my nephew suggested, Orson, who is teaching now, he gives them one strike. They're allowed, if they're caught cheating on a homework assignment, he'll let them redo it, but that's the one time they get to do it. Otherwise, they're referred for disciplinary action. And the school where he teaches, you can be kicked out of that school for cheating. So it's much higher stakes there. And I think that's the other part of this that really we all need as human beings to think about, is this issue of cheating. Should cheating cost people? Should there be some sort of consequence for cheating other than getting to the point where they have a job where they don't know what they're doing and they actually hurt people who hire them? I think that's a fair question to ask. What is the best way to deal with homework cheating? Since it's a relatively low-stake element of the grade, usually, what should be the punishment for cheating and how should a teacher handle it? I will say this. There are times when you as a teacher will spot something that you know is not entirely correctly done, is not fairly done, has been cheated on, and you're going to be tempted to say, oh, it's not worth the fight that it's going to cause to catch them. That is your decision as a teacher. I trust the judgment of teachers on that, generally speaking. But my inclination is to say this. If you've gotten to the point where it doesn't matter to you if kids are cheating on your work, then how does the class matter to you as a mission to share? If the work is worth doing, it should be done in an honorable way. And that's the last thing I'll say about cheating. It's always important to remind your students that their honor is worth more than any grade. If they, by turning in a piece of homework, say, this is my work, then they should treat it as valuable. It is their name, their reputation, their effort, and their honor. When they turn that in, it should be a reflection of their actual work. As tempting as it may be to cheat on it, it's never good for a person to cheat on homework. Better to be honest and do it the best you can than to cheat and pretend you know something that you don't. That's it for today. I hope you have a glorious day, and I hope you see me again, you gorgeous people.